So that is a recap of the call of the face mask that was not the face mask against Daniel Bellinger. That was inexplicably called against the Giants, even though they pointed to Dallas at first when the ref came in to explain it, and then the main ref got it wrong, and for some reason they didn't overturn it. We'll talk about that later, but that just sort of set the tone for the entire weekend for both the Jets and the Giants. So we are the Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet Fan podcast with your host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak, and we have that to get to. We got a new sponsor to talk about. We had a new intro that played introducing that sponsor. So we got a lot of stuff to get to. And guys, both teams laid an egg in games they should have won. Miserable weekend from a football standpoint. And we'll talk about those games. We'll also talk about just the quality of play across the league, man.
It's so bad. It's disgusting. I mean, every game was worse than the next. And, and with an exclamation point on that ridiculous Monday night game between Miami and Tennessee.
Just, ridiculous second Monday night game.
Yeah. Don't even get me started with that.
The fact that it exists is ridiculous.
Yeah. It was like horrific football in stereo, having two games on. We were watching a multi-view of that garbage. I mean, the Seattle-Detroit game was okay, but yeah, Scott, you just mentioned it. What more is there to say other than a primetime game, Giants against Dallas at MetDeath? I think we all know that the numbers now. Daniel Jones went to 1-13 in primetime games. I don't know what more there is to say. Obviously, it's not just Jones's. It's not just on his shoulders alone. But what I like about that, that's the worst record by any starting quarterback in primetime since the '70 merger. So congratulations, New York Football Giants.
Did they actually have prime time before the '70 merger?
Well, I think Monday Night Football. Yeah, right. Well, didn't Monday Night Football debut? It's a good question, Scott. I guess around 70, right?
I think it was, or no, maybe it was 70. I think
69 or right at the merger that year. Yeah. So since the freaking merger, Jones now has the worst record in prime time, 1-13. We can't beat that team.
He now has it? Like someone else had it before that? I can't.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I please go back and scratch the word now there. I just
okay.
I didn't mean to fill that in. Yeah, that was just a filler word, but that's my fault, my mistake.
Yeah, I was going to say whose record did he break on that? Yeah. Most quarterbacks who are that bad don't get 14 primetime starts in their career. Mm-hmm. So I can see how that record might stand for a long time. Yeah, I know a lot of people just starting up the podcast tonight might hear the lead in and think, oh boy, here they go. That lead in was something separate that had nothing to do with this game. That's a separate topic than the Giants football game, I believe. I hope in my mind, that is some gross negligence that we'll have to talk about in a different context. But as for the Giants, I mean, I know we're gonna talk about it here in a little bit, but sometimes not real bad, but they can't stop shooting themselves in the foot.
Novak, initial thoughts on the Jets before we get to the real breakdown.
I mean, it was Jets from last year and the Jets from 2022 with Zach Wilson. It was pathetic. It was a joke. And we're going to get into it. I'm going to hold on what I'm really pissed off about that game. But do you guys remember what my pet peeve was last week? Don't start talking about the Jets because they'll let me down.
That's right.
That thing, that pet peeve lasted 5 fucking days and they already lost again and let me down. So I'm not I'm gonna hold as to the reason they lost and all the crap that's going on with this team. But look, what a joke. I can't I'm angry again. I was fine. Now I'm angry again. Thanks.
So by the way, if you see heads moving a little bit as we're doing the podcast, baseball playoffs have kicked off. I'm wearing the Yankee jersey. They get to stay at home for a little bit. They get to play the Royals now, who just swept the Orioles. But the Mets are on as we talk. They're up 3-2, I think, in the sixth
making a little run here. So we'll see.
So yeah. So let's give a shout out first before we get into the angry part. And this one's international, the first international shout out. So hello, Truro, Nova Scotia. It's called the Hub of Nova Scotia. The British settled there in 1761 and named the city after Truro in Cornwall, UK. Had a railway come through in 1858, which brought some people, and it's the home of the Truro Bearcats, a junior hockey league team who are 4-time champs. So, of course, a team from Canada has to have some hockey expertise.
Well, yeah.
I've been to Nova Scotia. It's beautiful there. It's really nice. Beautiful.
Really?
And I always wanted to go there. And why? As a kid? Nova, Scott, Scotia.
Oh.
For some reason, as a kid, I thought it was named after me. Of course.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
I think it actually was named New Scotland. It just translated to Nova Scotia. I believe that's the case. I could be making that up, but
that's it. Truro.
Truro.
That sounds like it sounds like someone started saying something and then stopped.
Truro. It's really tough to pronounce. It's like Truro.
Yeah, it sounds like it has about 9 letters, but it's just got the 4 or 5.
So before we get into other stuff too, we do want to talk about something that happened completely unrelated to football, but it did impact a few of us. It impacted Cardone mostly, but the hurricane that came through missed most of Charlotte in terms of any devastation. But guys, Western Carolina, some parts of Tennessee, I think Northern Georgia, South Carolina actually had a lot of places lose power, but Cardone's son was up in the Boone area, and car was submerged and all sorts of shit going on.
Yeah. I figured we'd get to this tonight, Scott. But yeah, my beloved town of Boone, where Appalachian State is. I'm wearing the app gear, App Strong, Boone Strong, doing one of those notifications. But yeah, that. The town was ravaged. I was up there on Sunday. I went to get my son Cole, as Scott mentioned, and luckily he was okay on the second floor. But never seen flood waters like that. It was wild, man. But there's a lot of cleanup that's got to go on in Boone and other parts of Asheville and some other of our favorite towns up in Western North Carolina. So bad situation up there. So hopefully they recover soon. And just our thoughts are with all those communities up there and people that lost either, or had, friends and family or anybody that they know up in that area. It's a bad situation.
Yeah, no doubt. It's always terrible whenever one of these things comes through and, wipes out towns and displaces families and deaths and people lost. And you're hearing about that down here now. There's several people who work for my company who we haven't heard from that area. So, it's always a bad situation. And then you add to it sort of our familiarity with the area. They're showing these pictures from, this is downtown Boone and this is Blowing Rock and this is that. And you're like, oh, I was there 4 months ago. Mm-hmm. It's tough to look at.
Yeah, it's just tough. Beautiful area, like Cardone said. My daughter also went to App State. My brother's in South Carolina, still doesn't have power and probably won't for another 4 or 5 days. So, this is just brutal. Tough to move on from it for tonight, but, that's what we do, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll just consider adding to the misery anyway, because, as we talk about the Giants-Dallas game, again, we were breaking down the face mask penalty on the intro there, and Mike is right. It's a different topic from the game itself, but it's one of those situations where you had a sequence in the Giants' first half where had a face mask been called, the Giants would have probably had a chance to go in for a touchdown on a drive. I think they settled for a field goal on that drive. And the fact that they can get a call wrong when you're in a primetime game that's supposedly using replay assistance, how does that not get corrected? I'm still not sure when replay assistant kicks in and when it doesn't, because I saw a game, I think it was the Lions-Seahawks game on Monday night. They came through and they changed a call that was made because they said, the replay assistant came through and said that's an incomplete pass without even going to actual replay. So how do you not change a call that's obviously wrong? And on top of that, the very next drive after the Giants settled for a field goal, the Cowboys went down and they have a play where they throw a holding penalty, and there's also a man visibly downfield on a pass, and they not only threw the flag, but they decided that the flag that they threw didn't matter. It wasn't valid, and they picked it up. So not only did the Giants lose a possibility of getting a touchdown, the Cowboys were given a touchdown where if you bring them back 10 yards on a holding penalty, they probably are kicking a field goal there. It ends up being a completely different game at the end. And things like this, guys, I mean, in a 17-game season, it impacts you. And you could go on and say, well, they should have won at the end anyway. Yeah, but we shouldn't be saying that. We should say, get the goddamn thing right, since that's what replay assistance is supposed to be there for. If that can't correct that, why does it correct other things, and when does it correct other things?
It's very confusing. I saw another one during the Monday night games. I don't know if you saw this, but we kind of went to commercial. Nobody signaled touchdown. We kind of went to commercial. We came back from commercial, and there's 7 points up on the board. It's nobody ever signaled touchdown. Oh, New York called and said that's a touchdown. Now, I kind of like the idea of the eye in the sky, coming in. I don't hate that idea. But yeah, they've got to sharpen that up a little bit, and they've got to help us out with that. I mean, on the second penalty that Scott mentioned there, was that a call down from New York that, hey, don't throw that flag. Don't back up this touchdown. I don't know. There was no indication of that, but as Scott mentioned, that play is probably more impactful than the face mask, and I'll tell you why in a second. Because of the reasons Scott said. I mean, Dallas is almost certainly kicking a field goal there, because our defense was playing all right, and that was just a huge impactful play. They threw the flag. The hold was obvious. Not to mention there's offensive linemen downfield on that play as well, which I thought, okay, some crews don't call that, but lo and behold, the Giants get called for it later in the game.
You bet.
So it's very confusing, that flag pickup to me, when it was so blatant. Now, the one thing I'll tell you I did notice, they generally throw the flag in the direction of the infraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think they threw the flag on the right hold. They threw the flag in the interior of that field. So I think that's probably why they picked that one up, because they determined the one they flagged wasn't a hold, but the hold that did happened right in front of the official on the sideline. So that one, to me, that was very confusing. The face mask needs to be, yes, I agree and disagree with Scott. I don't think the Giants scored there anyway. I think the result of that drive was going to be a field goal. When we were lining up to kick the field goal, my thought was he's going to miss this because it's 51 yards, and we would have made the other one probably. But to me, that ended up being a wash. We got 3 points out of the drive. But to me, that's a whole separate conversation I want to have later. That can't happen. That cannot happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think the game as a whole was just frustrating because, Daniel Jones had several deep shots he missed. Wan'Dale Robinson dropped a key play where if he catches it, it was a 4th down play. If he catches that ball, not only does he get the first down, but he might score. He's that wide open. At the very least, he's getting into field goal range. We saw Neighbors on the play Daniel Jones made on the 4th down throw hit him, and then not only did he get knocked out of bounds, he got concussed on that play. And we'll talk about that for this week because it's Tuesday or it's Wednesday right now, and he's in the initial stages of the concussion protocol. So what the fuck's been going on since last Thursday?
Yeah. Who's running concussion protocol? The government? What's going on? Come on.
Yeah, right. Getting back to the what's reviewable, what's not, and the replays. Why? Let's get to a point where just fucking make everything reviewable. Just do it. Just make every single call, play, just make everything challengeable, viewable. Why not? I think we'd all would be in agreement. Like, even though it'd probably slow the game down even more, which God forbid we do that because everything, it's a flag fest to begin with, and I don't know where I'm going that I have to get through a football game as fast as possible. I still don't understand that, but what got me about just real quick about the face mask or the wrong face mask call. How come Bellinger didn't throw a fit? How come nobody on the Giants sideline didn't go bonkers?
Yeah. I have a theory on that.
I was going to ask that.
I have a theory on that. I have a theory that as the play's going on, they didn't necessarily hear what the call was. They saw the refs huddle and they, point towards the Giants. I don't know if they heard face mask, if they heard holding, if they heard personal foul. I don't know what they heard because you have to remember in the game and in the stadium, the coaches and the players aren't always able to hear what's going on in that segment.
I know.
I don't know if that's what happened, but no one on the Giants side complained. And no. Bellinger's not run up to the guy holding his face mask like guys do, but he's probably used to getting his face mask touched by people as he's being blocked,
That's a part of the just I don't know, every week in the NFL now are certain calls that are going to go against you. Some do go with you, but
I'll say this though, if they do go ape shit, does it change anything?
No, of course not. But I just want someone. I'm going ape shit in my living room. Why can't they be going ape shit? Like, at least. Well, wait a minute. What are you seeing that I'm not?
Yeah.
Like what am I doing wrong? I'm going wild in my living room. So how come no one on the fucking Giants sidelines is showing as much fervor as me?
Well, it's hard to reach your level of fervor, to be honest.
Right.
Whether you're
there, Giant Mike. Yeah, that's true. But guys, I don't want to get too far away from the game itself. I tell you the biggest thing. Scott, you already mentioned. Jones. I don't even know guys. I don't know. I mean, as far as throwing anything above 20 yards, the guy's impossible. We can't complete anything over 20 yards. But what I want to talk about, Scott and guys, I want to flip over to the other side of the field for a minute, other side of the ball. I'm sorry, to the rushing game, to our running game. I want to talk about Dallas's, the other side of the ball for Dallas. Because I tell you what, because all I heard, I knew this was going to happen. This is what, this wasn't even a pet peeve, but this is what drives me insane about our New York Giants is the predictability, particularly in a game like this, where I really didn't give the Giants that much of a shot to win this game. And as the game starts to unfold, it's amazing. The moment we couldn't run the ball early on, because we knew we were going to try to establish a run, all we heard for 3 weeks was how bad, the Dallas Cowboy defense was getting shredded on the ground, which they were, right? And so we had the right game plan, trying to establish Singletary, try to get some kind of running game going, but of course not. This Dallas team came in giving up 185 yards on the ground per game. What'd we get? 26 yards, 1.1 yards per rush. And do you guys know what our longest run of the game was? 5 yards. It's an NFL game. Our longest rush was 5 yards.
That's incredible.
So that's the part that what's amazing is I looked at a couple of stats tonight. Even after that game, Dallas is still the sixth worst defensive team against the run in the league as far as yards per game. So that's how bad they were coming into this game. And no doubt that looked like the offensive line. That looked like the Saquon Barkley Giants running into a fucking brick wall against the Dallas Cowboys that we've seen for the last 5 years. And it's just amazing how it manifests itself on Thursday night in a game. There was no way we were going to 2-2 and Dallas was going to go to 1-3. And it was guys, I know that the offensive line protected Jones a lot better. We're seeing definitely Jones has more time to deliver the ball in a pocket, but the running game against Dallas and the running game hasn't been bad, but to see that rear its ugly head against a Dallas team that was they're defensively, against the run was horrific coming in, just is as predictable and scripted as you can get.
Yeah, and like we always talk about, right, Cardone? It can't be that Dallas was just a little better against the run this week. It had to be epic. It had to be 1.1 yards a carry. It had to be 26 yards. It couldn't be, well, the Giants only got 86 yards rushing. That in itself would have been a story. Hey, Dallas much improved against the run. But no, this has to be they turn into the 85 Bears during the week at some point, and we can't muscle out a fucking yard on them. I mean, it's so frustrating. And as you said, so predictable. So predictable that
Dallas
kind of
somehow,
they
gave up 159 yards less than their average coming into the game. Not like Mike, that's perfect. Not even like, the Giants only mustered 89 yards or whatever it is. 26.
Yeah, it had to be epic. And I'll tell you, I know, as the team loses, I've been on and off the Jones bandwagon, but I'll tell you this in this game, for a team that couldn't run the ball, right? You know what not running the ball means. You should it's hard. If you get 26 yards on the ground, it's hard to get 10 points in the NFL. Yeah. The Giants had drives of 8, 11, 15 in the first half. Second half, 11, then 3, then 10, then 8, then 3. I mean, Jones was sustaining drives.
He was
for the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about that, and that's pretty impressive when you not even are ineffective running the ball, when there is no running of the ball. Because once again, we threw in runs at odd times that, were just a waste of downs. And I think I even texted early in the game, like, don't give up on the run yet. You totally give up on the run. Conversely, Dallas has had a 12-yard and a 10-yard drive. Everything else was like 3 or 5 or there's 1-8 in there. But yeah, of course, they all ended in touchdowns. Ours all ended in field goals, which, that kind of hurts too. But I see these little signs of the Giants getting better. But I'll tell you what I noticed in this game, and I just confirmed it to myself reading the drive chart here, is that the Giants were really good from their goal line to the 50 or the 45. And then as you look down the drive chart, you see it instantly. It's like it goes on and on and on, mostly in the second half, but in the first half too. It's like it's 1st and 10, 2nd and 14, 3rd and 9, punt. They can't run like 3 consecutive plays and gain yards on 3 consecutive plays. And a lot of it is, in my mind, and I think Dable's done a pretty good job with play calling, but we get across the 50 and we get too damn crafty. We get too, like, we want to, throw in a reverse to Neighbors when we get down there, which gets, of course, blown up. It's just like, just keep playing your offense when you cross the 50. You don't all of a sudden think, okay, now we can take the shackles off and be someone we're absolutely not. Yeah. Run the ball between the tackles, throw your crossing routes, try to find Neighbors, when he's single covered, but for God's sakes, get him the ball. I think Dable coaches this offense like they're an elite offense, and they're not. And I think he needs to rein it in a little bit.
Well, one thing Cardone brought up in the beginning of the segment, and then one thing he brought up last week, both of them I want to touch upon. The first one is what he brought up in the beginning of the segment, and that's, the Giants traditionally, if they're going up against a team that has like historically bad pass defense, they get up against it and somehow they'll have 100 yards passing. If someone's giving up like defenses, like they're just getting gashed on the ground, the Giants show up and that becomes the game where they give up the 26 yards on 20 carries or whatever the hell it was. It just seems to be a pattern that we follow. I don't know if you remember when we played Washington a couple of years ago, and Washington's secondary was terrible. They were getting torched, and we show up and I think we did win the game, but it was one of those where we eked by because Washington made a bunch of mistakes and our defense played really well, but we didn't do anything in the air in that game. And then the other thing that was brought up that I wanted to mention was sort of like, we've talked about the drops. We've talked about like guys not needing to step up other than the Neighbors. And a key for that to me is Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale, his stats looked really good in that game. But then there's a couple of times on 3rd and 4th down or down near the goal line where all he needs to do is break a tackle or make one guy miss, and he has a first down or he has a touchdown. And he couldn't do it. And the one that really hurt us, and I want to talk about this a bit, is that one on the goal line where on 3rd and goal, he gets tripped up. He could walk into the end zone if he just hops over the guy diving at him and goes in. And then it's 4th and goal from the 3, and Dable decides to kick a field goal instead of go for it. I thought that's a time where you be aggressive and you go for it. You go for the win there. We criticize coaches all the time for not taking the points. Another one did it this week with Harbaugh in a tie game, not taking a field goal that would have given him a lead against the Chiefs of all teams. But the Giants there, that they were trailing. If they score a touchdown there, great. If not, they have Dallas pinned back. I don't get why that's not one of those where you would go for the touchdown. But the drops are killing us, and no one stepping up outside of Neighbors is killing us.
I can't predict when a coach won't go for things. With this idea that if you're down 2 touchdowns and you score 1, you go for 2. Someone's going to have to sit down with like a chalkboard and explain that to me, because that has got to be the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I don't know.
It's happening all over the place now.
Yeah. When we go around the league, we might talk about that. But yeah, I mean, is there anything more predictable than kind of a surprise step up by a Giants player in the first half or first 3 quarters of a game, and then that player doing something boneheaded and costing us the game later? I mean, Wan'Dale's going off in the beginning of this game, And I don't know if he got tired or what, but then as Scott said, all of a sudden the guy who's here because he breaks tackles and you can't get him down with one guy is getting taken down with one guy, dropping passes, after a stellar start. If he had made the 2 or 3 plays that Scott's talking about, the Giants win this game. I have zero doubt about that. If he, like Scott said, moves a little bit instead of running right into a tackler, he probably scores on that play. Of course, if he doesn't have that drop, that is a pass that teams have been using to kill us, particularly the Dallas Cowboys, for years. It's sort of a deeper angle slant. And boy, if you catch that thing, especially if the defender in front of you goes for the interception and doesn't get it, you're gone. We used to see the last player we had who did that was Odell, scored on that play a lot. And it was depressing. It's always depressing to lose to Dallas. You want to humble arrogance every chance you get, right? That's what Giants fans love to do. And we just missed an opportunity. They were ripe to be beaten. By the way, they stink.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, that was a definite conclusion. On the flip side, I'm like, I was saying the same thing, Mike. Giants stink, but I said the same thing. On Friday morning, I'm like, Cowboys suck. Like they stink. Yeah.
So, Jets-Broncos. I wanted to point this out because I hate these advanced stats. So the Jets have a 4th and 10. They're down 1 point at the time, and it's the play where Rodgers gets sacked and they turn the ball over. Prior to that play starting, AWS put the winning percentage at 55% for the Jets. Trailing in a game that they're facing a 4th and 10 in their own end.
Forget the AWS stats. That's insane and it's annoying, and it was going to be a pet peeve, but we might as well just let that just keep going all year long because we're going to be angry by it. I have a stat. Here's one for you. 140,000 people went to MetLife on Thursday and Sunday, and not one touchdown.
Yeah.
You know what? And I'm not going to use it as my pet peeve because I used it last year. I am so tired of watching MetLife Stadium. Met Death.
Yeah.
That's why these two teams are boring, because it's a bore. I'm jealous of the Cincinnati Bengals, who have an incredible stadium. And I got to watch these two boring teams every single weekend, and that godforsaken Met Death. It's awful. But as far as the Jets are concerned, I was this one killed me because, as you know, last week I said the Jets always find a way to let me down, and they did again. And the reason for this time is that guy that we stare at every single weekend 1,000 times is that cheerleader, Robert Saleh. And we think about it. Whenever the camera goes on that guy, is he talking to an offensive coordinator or a player or a referee or a ball boy, anyone? He's staring into space like a statue. He does nothing. And Rodgers hates him. It is so evident that he does not respect this clown, Robert Saleh. So that team was unprepared, undisciplined, 15 penalties, 5 false starts. It is coaching. They have the talent. So I don't care what anybody says. Robert Saleh has got to go. And another guy I'm sick of is Garrett Wilson. Stop popping off. You don't have the Zach Wilson excuse anymore. You don't. You've got a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can't get open. Watch the guy across the other end of the stadium, Neighbors. He finds a way to get open, and he's double covered on every play. So stop saying it's everything else but you. Breece Hall, same thing. Stop it. We anoint these guys before they do anything. Stop it. So this team had better find a way to make this happen. They have sold their soul to the devil with Rodgers. And if he doesn't get what he wants, they're going to suck again. So they've got to win this weekend. The game was atrocious on every phase. The defense was terrible, even though they only let up how many points? Bo Nix was a disaster, 60 yards, and we still lose the game over them. So
yeah, Bo Nix having 60 yards in a game and them winning when he looked like hot garbage that entire game. That's unconscionable. We've had losses like that as Giant fans, but 60 yards for the opposing quarterback.
Well, the headlines. Bo Nix leads Broncos to victory and on the road.
Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah, just like Mason Rudolph led the Titans on Monday night.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. And I texted you guys on Sunday.
Yeah.
This Devontae Adams thing is happening.
Yeah.
That he will be a Jet. I can feel it, and it's going to go one of two ways. One, it's going to be great, and Rodgers is going to have his outlet, and with him and Lazard, and those they can buddy up every weekend and whatever. The other way it could be a complete disaster. He's going to alienate Garrett Wilson even more, and it's all just going to tank because Garrett Wilson's going to get pissed off. He's not getting targets. He's going to end up leaving at the end of the year. Now we've got a 32-year-old overpaid wide receiver as our number one. So more than likely, it's going that direction.
What about Reddick?
I don't. There's what do we? At this point, if we're gonna get Adams, we don't. How would we have money to pay for Reddick? So we won't.
But he does have a contract right now, doesn't he?
He does, but he's not going to play for that. So if we can find a way to get Adams in here, I don't know, ship him off for a 4th round pick or something. I don't care. I just don't want the distraction anymore. With the Jets.
Novak, I'm looking at the box score of the, and I know you've obviously know the numbers. How the fuck did Denver win this game? I know it's when you just look, you're like, how 186 total yards. They got outnumbered in every statistical category imaginable, and it's just the NFL sometimes. It's just incredibly gross. That just shows you how gross the Jets were. I mean, really,
it's the same reason you guys lost. We couldn't put it in the end zone.
Right.
Same reason. We all talk about kicking field goals. I agree it can win games, but it also can lose games if you can't get in the fucking end zone. And neither team can or did.
Or if you miss your field goal attempts too.
Or that too. I mean, Zerline did miss a 50-yarder to lose the game, but you
true.
Can't be counting on that in that weather. And if I heard the commentators tell me it was raining one more time, I was going to lose my mind. Stop it. I can see on the thing.
Pretty obvious.
God, everything was about it in these conditions. We get it. Shut up.
I think I hope I get this right. I wanted to save it. I don't have it in front of me, but mentioning the no touchdowns. It was the first time. So this was the 57th time in the history of Giants and Jets, going all the way back to Giants Stadium in 1984, that they both have played at home on the same weekend. So think about what has to happen there. It's got to be Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Sunday, vice versa. So 57 times. First time, neither one of these schmucks scored a touchdown. So, yeah.
You want to hear another?
I thought you were going to say 57th time.
No, first time, neither one combined scored a touchdown. So Met Death did not see a home team score a touchdown in both teams for the first time. Just great. That, and you're right, Dan. That stadium, goddamn, it's the grossest, most disgusting, hideous, boring, awful stadium in not only just the NFL, all the fucking sports.
It looks like a jail from the outside.
It does. It's
I hate
awful.
it.
And
I hate it.
You want to hear one thing? Do you guys remember when you tied the Redskins 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Sure do.
Yeah.
At MetLife?
Yeah.
That is the lone game that splits our records. We are 55-62. You're 54-62-1. So you got us by a half game at games at MetLife.
You're kidding.
No, one half game separates us from the same record of just garbage at that stadium. How about that?
That's wild.
How about them apples?
How about them apples?
Yeah.
So we got the Giants-Seahawks coming up, and Seahawks are coming off of a loss to the Lions, in a game that the Seahawks did not look bad. The Seahawks have a couple of guys in there that are just killers. I mean, I'm watching Kenneth Walker run. He's just going over people. He had that amazing play where he flipped over twice and then kept his feet. Zach Charbonnet looks like he runs over people. You got DK Metcalf. And I'm telling you right now, if Neighbors can't go because of a concussion, we're going into a team that's angry as hell. They're just suffered their first loss, and we got to go to Seattle, which is always a hellhole to play in.
Yeah. Can you imagine this Giants defense that can't get anyone on the ground trying to tackle Kenneth Walker right now? I mean, Are you kidding me?
No.
I mean, this group of arm tacklers we got, he is going to eat our lunch. And it's almost guaranteed there's one super long run in there. At least there's going to be one 70-yard touchdown. It's inevitable. And that blow the lid off that place. We got nothing for this team. I feel pretty confident that Neighbors is going to go. Now I didn't hear what you just said a few minutes ago there, Scott. So I've felt all week that with sort of the extra day playing at 4:00 on Sunday that Neighbors would go. He didn't look like he was that shaken up. But yeah, that now I have that heartburn going. I appreciate that.
The only benefit we do have is for once on the schedule side, we're coming off of a Thursday game, and inexplicably the NFL puts us up against a team that just played on Monday night. Yeah. Why would you do that to a Monday night team? Yeah. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, if I'm a Seattle fan, I'm so pissed about that. The three angry Seahawks fans are talking right now and going, well, at least it's the Giants. That's at least they didn't make us play Kansas City or something. That's ridiculous. I saw that too. That is the perfect schedule.
Yep.
Even with that, I don't know how we compete in this game. I really don't. Because that trek to Seattle, everyone knows that is just death. going up there 8,000 miles away, whatever it seems like. Seattle's just fucking good. We shouldn't be surprised that Seattle's off to the start that they are. They're just a good football team. I haven't watched a ton of Seattle, but I know they're freaking better than us. Everybody's better than us. Everybody. I mean, it's funny. Like I did watch, Monday night, and it's still hard for me to wrap my brain around the fact that, Geno Smith, who was kind of like a little bit of a doormat, if that's kind of a fair, maybe that's a little bit over, a stretch, but not that long ago, early in his career, that you never thought this guy was even going to start another NFL game. At least I didn't. I thought he was going to be a backup for the rest of his career. He was going to be a Like, I am terrified of Geno Smith running around. I don't even know, is it Quest Field, whatever their stadium name is now. It doesn't matter. I'm terrified of this guy. They lead the league in passing yards so far through a quarter of the season. So we better get some pressure on this guy. Otherwise, it's just going to be another just goof fest of pick however your way. I don't know how you got pick your way of how you want to get beat. Have the ball shoved down our throat with Walker on the ground, Geno Smith slinging it around. The Giants being, was it last year? Remember Seattle sacked us like fucking 11 times on Monday or Sunday night? Like, they'll dial up that film of that game. Jones will be running for his life on Sunday. This is going to be a goof fest.
So the flip side of when the Giants play teams who are really bad at passing the ball or throwing the ball, and we can't take advantage of that, is teams that are really good at doing that will torch us. So Seattle having the best passing offense. Look for 400 yards from Geno on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. We never do what Dallas did. Just be the worst in the league at something and then step up and somehow put together a game where you're just off the charts. No, if you're leading the league in passing, you will be leading the league in passing by more after you play the Giants. That is the way it's always been. It's same on both sides of the ball, right? If you're great on defense at stopping the run, the Giants they'll be lucky to get 10 yards against you. Yeah, I agree with Cardone. This thing is probably going to get ugly early and just continue down that path. We've got nothing for this team who they're not like lights out spectacular, but they're really good at everything. Yes. They're pretty good at everything, I should say. And that's just, if you can sit back and run when you want to, pass when you want to, and they'll have their way. The Giants are cannon fodder out there.
So we travel 5 hours out to the West Coast. Mm-hmm. The Jets, on the other hand, go 5 hours to the East Coast to jolly old England.
I was hoping you would bring the accent out.
Top to the hot pulse. Aaron Rodgers.
You guys are playing a Jet quarterback reject, and we are playing a Jet quarterback reject. Who, what do you know? They're lighting it up for their respective teams. I don't know how this is going to go. There seems to be a lot of turmoil within that Jets organization. Rodgers is a little hurt. He's banged up. We're not doing predictions right now, but I feel you would think that I'm so down on them that I don't think they have a chance, but I actually think that they match up pretty well with the Vikings. So we'll see what I do for predictions. But I think this will be a high-scoring game. I'd like to think that the offense will turn it around. I think Breece Hall is pissed off because he played so poorly. He had a bunch of dropped passes. I think he had 25 yards rushing. Everyone's talking about Braylon Allen being better than him. So I foresee a big game from Breece Hall.
I know what's going to be on the menu over in England. Spotted dick.
Oh, he's been waiting so long.
Yeah.
He had that since the preseason.
Yeah, I know. He has.
Sitting on that.
I didn't use it when we played them, I don't think. And didn't we play them in London?
We did.
And you didn't use the spotted dick joke
I don't
then?
think I might have. I'm probably sure I did.
Yeah.
I think it'd be hard to believe if you did.
So we were talking about predictions. Let's go to predictions, Mikey. So
all right,
run
predictions.
that segment.
Predictions. We got a new person picking last. Yeah, Scott, you will be picking last today because you went 0-2 because of your faith in the Giants. So the new standings are: Novak took his first loss of the year, as we all did on the Jet game. So Novak is 7-1. Cardone and Mike are 5-3, and Scott is 4-4. So let's dive in. Novak, what do you got for the Giants at Seattle?
I really want to pick the Giants here, but I can't see it. You guys are right. The Seahawks are too balanced. If they were bad at one thing, like Mike pointed out, they're just kind of good at seemingly good at everything. I like them pretty well here. I would say 27-14 Seattle. For the Jets, like I said, hey Jets, I have a message for you. You're going to let me down if you win. Okay. So because of that reverse psychology, I do think the Jets will come back from that pathetic performance last week. I think they will play well. And I think I think the Vikings, I love that the Vikings are undefeated, actually. I think the Vikings get their first loss on the road in London, and I like the Jets here, 26-14.
Ooh. All right. Cardone.
Yeah, I think I alluded to what I think is going to happen up in Seattle. I'll start with the Giant game first, and Seattle's going to do plenty of things well. Giants, I give them a couple field goals here and there. Maybe they get a garbage touchdown late in the game. Give me Seattle 28-16. That's the late game, of course. Yeah, the Jets, and right 9:30. Novak, you're going to have Bloody Marys and whatever else going Sunday morning. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
It's going to sound like a little bit of a repeat here, but I was thinking the same exact thing. As soon as you're looking at this matchup, I'm like, it's the NFL, which is just impossible to predict week after week. Teams look so different, except for the Giants. They look like shit every week. But so like these teams, the Jets are going to look like a much better team this week. I think that Minnesota will play as well, but I think this is one of those games where the Jets, they win a close one, maybe a late field goal. I got the Jets winning 23-21.
Whoa. A little bit of surprise there. All right, I will go now. The Giants at Seattle, like you just heard Cardone and I basically laughing at the idea that the Giants might compete in this game. So I very similar score to Cardone. I've got 38-13 Seattle. I don't know, the 13, that implies a touchdown. So I guess maybe we'll have to figure that one out later. And the Minnesota at the Jets, all these London games have been ugly, right? Every one of these things has been, I remember the first year the Giants played there, it was like a swamp or something. So I'm going to say that London sticks with that theme. I'm going to say Minnesota ekes out a 10-9 win over the Jets.
10-9.
2 straight weeks without the Dick getting a touchdown.
10 straight weeks 2 straight weeks losing 10-9. This time to a little bit better opponent, but yeah.
Roger's head's going to explode if that's the case.
If you guys remember last year, this Giants-Seattle game is the one where Daniel Jones threw the interception at the goal line that was returned for a touchdown, and then the Seattle defenders had basically trashed him after that game, saying we knew exactly where he was going with the ball, everything was happening, this, that, and the other thing. I don't see a way the Giants are going to win this game. I see that Neighbors is probably going to be out. I'm just going to go on my gloom and doom here with once someone's in the initial stages of the concussion protocol. Well, Mahomes can get hit in the head on a spear midway through the third quarter, fall down on his own, and they don't even make him go out of the game. I see Neighbors probably being out like 7 weeks because of concussion or something like that. So I'm very pessimistic about this game, and my score is 34-10 Seattle.
Can I put a no Neighbors score in here? I'll change my score from 38-13 to 38-dick if Neighbors is going to be
there. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't consider the no Neighbors.
So in the London game, this is the Sam Darnold revenge tour. He's taking it British style.
There it is.
He's going to have the Union Jack on his shirt playing in Wembley. So no, I do, guys. I don't know how the Minnesota team has made this turnaround, but now that I'm watching them play, they're playing well in all facets of the football. And it just doesn't look like the team people predicted in the preseason. Now everyone thought J.J. McCarthy would be the quarterback and end up being Darnold. But I see that the Vikings keeping on rolling. They went into Lambeau and got a big win there, and it really wasn't as close as the score indicated. So I have the Vikings winning this game 28-17.
So we should all take a guess on how many times revenge game gets mentioned in both of these games, because this is another a Geno Smith revenge game against the Giants. Yeah. He played he broke Eli's streak. Of course, he was the guy who came in, and to Cardone's point, I thought that was the end of Geno Smith's career. Like that stint with the Giants, I really thought was like no other team would have him. Yeah.
He'll never start another game in the rest of his career. He'll just be holding a clipboard or something. Yeah. Tablet, whatever the hell you call it now. Yeah. And I'm terrified of him. Terrified of Geno Smith.
Oh yeah. He's just that kind of guy who tortures us, man. He doesn't really run much, but he gets out of sacks. Yeah. That's the kind of God. Anyway, I digress.
And he's had a rebirth.
Yes, he has.
So if you were listening to our intro on the audio pod, you haven't heard it on the video pod, but we have a new sponsor. It's called Rugged Uncle. And, we'll give you the readout, the initial readout of the sponsor. So men's hairdressing innovation with balanced perfection is here. Rugged Uncle has one product, Native. It has the strength of a wax, texture of clay, and the silkiness of a pomade. It truly defines styling butter. Native is handcrafted in Nashville with ingredients like Wagyu beef tallow, pine tree resin, mango butter, and argan oil. These ingredients come together to not only style hair, but to improve the health of your hair and scalp. So go to ruggeduncle.com, check out their story, and give them a try. And when someone does something that good, there's no other version needed. That's only why they have one version. We have a code. Use the code AngryFans in all caps, and you get 20% off any order you place.
Yep. Yeah. I have it right here, the Rugged Uncle. It comes inside the little thing here, which is awesome. Has a guitar pick in this thing, right? Really cool. It smells fantastic. It feels great on the hair. I'm all excited for it. So, we're all going to get samples of this and see how it goes.
Yeah, man. Innovative product, which for a much needed market for sure. we need some real men's grooming products, not the other crap that's out there. So this is a real man's grooming product. So I can't wait to use this stuff.
Do we know if it can grow hair? Is this like I know it's not from China. I know it's from Nashville. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if I can put it on, if I have to wear, I don't have to worry about it smelling bad like George Costanza did. He had to wear a hat over it. But yeah, this stuff, I'm looking forward. Like I said, we haven't got our sample yet. Novak got his. Looking forward to that. And welcome aboard, Rugged Uncle. It's an exciting partnership. Fired up about it.
I think we'll have a lot of directions to go as the year goes on with beef tallow.
We can certainly work that in. I need to learn more about it.
So going around the league, guys, start off on a good note for David Tepper for once. He and his wife, their foundation, they gave $3 million to hurricane relief. So, as downtrodden as we've been on David Tepper, he stepped up for people in the community. He didn't hide and say, I'm a guy from Pittsburgh. I don't give a fuck about you Carolinians. And he did step up. I don't know if you guys saw the Tampa Bay Eagle game. Interesting thing in that, not just on the field where the Eagles were getting steamrolled. They did come back at the end, but again, Jalen Hurts, another poor game from my standpoint, had another, more turnovers. But in that broadcast, Tom Brady, who I actually think is doing a pretty good job. I know he's getting some critical, people are critical of him, but they had a quote up there from Baker Mayfield talking about how, there's not a lot of pressure on the guys anymore. There's no one there standing over them with pressure. And Brady really laid into that comment. And, he was fired up. He was like, he goes, I'll tell you what, he goes, there's no stress. He goes, when you're winning, he goes, what's stressful is not having Super Bowl rings. Uh-huh. And whoever was broadcasting with him, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, Tom, you seem pretty passionate about this. He's like, oh yeah. He goes, I'm still competitive about this. He goes, when I want to have fun, I'll take my kids to Disney. He goes, it's my fun's not losing.
Look, it's the way of the NFL right now, right? I just complained about Salah, that friggin' cheerleader. Like, the Bradys of the world is over. Even Mahomes, who's as talented as Brady, he's on commercials every 5 minutes. He's just, can we just get Tom? I mean, I hated Tom Brady, but it was a good hate because you respected him. I don't respect any of these clowns.
Yep, hate Tom Brady the same way I hated Larry Bird.
Yeah,
because because I respected the shit out of him, and he didn't play for my team.
Right.
Exactly. That's. And we've talked about on this podcast before, and Tom Brady, he kind of confirmed it right there. I think part of his point there was, when you're playing as well as Tampa is right now, it's fun. If they lose the next 3 in a row, guess what, Baker? It's not going to be very much fun.
No.
And that's the way it rolls. I mean, it's not like, oh, we have this free, loose, and fun, and we have guys who like to joke around. That's why we win. No, you're winning. So that happens. It pisses me off so much that people don't recognize that.
Yeah, the winning is what's causing the camaraderie, would you say?
Yes.
Right? Yes. I think so.
You're not going to have a team of a bunch of chums who like to go bowling together after the game on Sunday, and they're 0-7. Like, it just doesn't happen.
You'd be chucking pins at one another. I brought this up in week 1 about Kyler Murray. Everyone started getting on the Arizona bandwagon week 1 after Kyler Murray was playing. And now, after week 4, the Cardinals are 1-3, and Kyler Murray's crashed back to earth, and people are going, what's he doing? This league is so schizophrenic when it comes to quarterbacks. And I'll bring this up too, and I'll tie in Jaden Daniels to this too, because Jaden Daniels looks really good to start off. And people are like, they use that tired phrase, oh, you're going to have to deal with Jaden Daniels for the next 10 years. Well, I was supposed to deal with RG3 for the next 10 years, too. You never know when this shit's going to happen,
Right.
Yep. Good point.
And then I don't know if you guys saw the Goff. He was 17 for 17 in that game. But by the way, he did not have a perfect quarterback rating.
Yeah.
They won. He had a couple long touchdown passes, and yet he did not have a perfect quarterback rating.
How's that possible? He didn't have an incomplete pass.
Didn't have an incomplete pass.
Didn't really put a ball in danger. It was a pretty good quarterback performance. It really was.
A touchdown pass. Yeah.
Yeah, he caught a touchdown pass. That stat is broken. There's no other way to put it.
Nope.
There's no other way to put it.
Nah, these completion percentages, I'm looking at them right now here. And right now, I know it's only 4 games, but I just miss the old days of like when you actually, quarterbacks threw incomplete passes or, rookies like struggled. I mean, some still do. Jaden Daniels is completing 82% of his passes so far through 4 games. Guy's a fucking rookie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the guy has 19 incompletions on the season.
Yeah.
It's week 5. It's October. The guy has thrown 19 incompletes. Rookies used to get that in 1 game.
I mean, anyone could get that one game.
Anyone could get that 39. One game, right?
Yeah, I mean,
20. What are we doing? 4 fucking games. The guy's thrown 19.
Let's call some plays down the field there, Washington. What the hell?
Brewers just hit a home run.
They're up 5-3, bottom of the 8th. Great.
Justin Fields is completing 70% of his passes. Sorry, Scott. I'm just hung up on that too. I mean, Fields is playing well. This is not another reason why I'm just not. I mean, I'm just so salty right now.
Bringing up Fields, I had to laugh at Fields because we saw the Steelers lose a game this past week, and Fields fumbled twice, and yet during that game I was watching some of that, and the announcers kept saying Justin Fields is keeping Pittsburgh into this game. Well, what was happening when he fumbled twice to lose, and Indianapolis was taking it in for scores with Joe Flacco as their quarterback?
Another former Jet reject. Yep.
Yeah.
I had to laugh at this. So if you guys sat through any of that Miami game, I flipped over just to see the end of it. But Miami was doing an onside kickoff, and I'm using air quotes for those on the audio. They decided to punt the ball. So the guy punts the ball for the onside kickoff, and no one from the Titans goes near the ball. And the special teams coach is going nuts. He's like, wait for a fair catch, do something. So Miami grabs the ball, and they think they have the ball. However, even though it's an onside kick, the ball did not land in the designed landing zone. But here's the worst part about that play. So they kicked off from the 20 or whatever because it was after a safety, I believe. Mm-hmm. So the penalty for not kicking it in the landing zone is half the distance to the goal, and the other team gets the ball. So the Titans take possession of the ball over at the 10-yard line because of this penalty. Now,
how does that make sense at all?
It doesn't make sense at all.
Someone explain. That's the most ridiculous.
How does it make sense?
I wouldn't have if you had if I had taken an SAT course on that play and said, here's the 15 different scenarios in what happens there, what would be the one? That's the last one I would pick. God.
I don't know. In the old game of football, when you kicked off, if the opposing team didn't catch the ball and you recovered it, it's a live ball. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
That's apparently changed now.
Just stop it with this. But just go back to the original old kickoff.
Yes.
From where it used to be. Make everyone wear Guardians on the kickoff team, for crying out loud. I mean, just stop this. This is it's got to stop. This has got to be one of those things we look back at 30 years ago. Remember that year with the dynamic kickoff and laugh about it? This can't continue.
No, it can't. It's not made the game that much more interesting, has it?
No, it's stupid.
It's stupid.
You kick off and everyone's standing there. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Did you guys got anything from around the league?
I will use my around the league to go back to the Giants game, as I said I was going to at the beginning, and talk about this face mask situation. As I said, to me, that is a separate issue than the Giants football game. Scott mentioned it, that, New York is calling down and changing plays, which I really have no problem with. I actually like that. They have TV cameras. They have different angles. I have no problem with that at all. They seem to do it quickly. Everything's fine. Since they can do that, and this sort of gets to Cardone's point about it, can't they have a gross negligence rule where it seems like they can only change reviewable plays, right? But can't they just say on the Giants game is a great example. If they just fuck something up so bad, can't New York just buzz them and say, hey, you're marking that off on the wrong team?
Yeah.
Oh, my understanding is that they could have done that. Yeah, my understanding is that they can correct penalties that are incorrectly called.
Even non-reviewable things?
Yeah. Because they were saying that they could call down if it's a correctable error. And actually, the funny thing is, the one ref that came into the huddle and was talking to Clay, whatever his name is, pointed towards Dallas. And so he's another guy. He never corrected it. Like, he just goes back, oh, whoa. I guess he didn't realize they marked 15 yards the other way, too. He just went back to his position.
They showed McCarthy, and he was going nuts, but he was going nuts at his player. he wasn't going. You can't go nuts about that call. It's a blatant face mask, and McCarthy's pissed off. Rightfully so. I just don't understand how that happens, especially with a team that threw that many flags altogether. You would think they have their flag game on point of what's going on there. That to me, that is gross negligence. That cannot happen in an NFL football game. And when it does, I mean, I think you guys remember, like they went to commercial, and I texted at the time because Scott, of course, was blowing up. Scott, you better. Scott was going bananas. So I'm like, Scott, something odd happened here. I just like the Giants weren't mad. Something weird happened. Hopefully we'll get an explanation when we get back. And then sure enough, we get back, we see the play, we see the call. I think my next text was, what the F is happening here? It's just like, to me, I don't even know that. We might not even see it if it were for another team. I think probably a lot of non-Giants fan listening probably haven't even been shown the penalty. So I don't know if we would have even seen it, if it happened in the Jets-Broncos game or Minnesota, whoever. But that kind of, I've seen and I've complained about a lot of officiating over the years. I was just too dumbfounded to complain about that one.
Yeah, me too.
It was just sort of like, what's going on here? I mean, I've seen them mark off a penalty the wrong direction, and they always immediately notice. Or another ref comes over and is like, no, that way. To just have this happen, have it marked off on the Giants, and to Cardone's point, the Giants are like, okay, fuck it. Let's snap the ball.
I mean, regardless of whether because you're not going to change the call, but how is somebody not pissed off? How is Bellinger not going over to the ref, like grabbing it, like he grabbed me? He does something animated where he's just barking at the guy. Nothing.
I think when Bellinger walked off the field, he probably assumed that it was a penalty on Dallas. Because all indications right up until he said face mask, offense, 82. Yeah. Right up until then, it totally looked like the Giants were getting 15 yards tacked onto that play.
Yeah, even the announcers were saying, "Oh yeah, this is on Dallas." And
yeah, they even kind of like Herb Street kind of casually said, "Well, they're marking this off the wrong way, but it's on Dallas."
What was the Sunday night game? Do you guys remember?
Was it Sunday night?
Buffalo,
Ravens, Buffalo, maybe.
Ravens, Buffalo. No, it wasn't that game. There was a game. No. It might have been the Seattle Detroit game. One of the games, a defensive team had 11 accepted penalties on them. So I think it was Seahawks, possibly.
Oh wait, no, I think Scott. I remember from your text. I think it was Detroit.
Oh, it was Detroit. That's right. Because they were getting called for pass interference every other play for some reason.
Yeah. I have a bad feeling, everyone knows what's going on. I think it's been talked about around the league, like the cover 2 shell that's ruining football. I just see it as good defense.
Hold on to that, because you're stepping on my pet peeve there.
I will stop right there.
And on that, we will go to pet peeves, and I'll kick it off since that was basically what I was going to allude to. So
there you go.
In the pet peeves, I mean, my pet peeve here is exactly that. So a few weeks ago, I was going to talk about it last week and we didn't get to it, but Mel Kiper basically put out a statement. And he was in one of the studio shows, and he said he wants to abolish the cover 2. And the reason they want to do this is because some of the abhorrent quarterback stats we've seen. I mean, Bo Nix, whether it's him, whether it's Williams from Chicago, all these guys, there's guys every week now throwing in 120 yards, 130 yards, less than 100 yards. And Kuiper's attributing this to the cover 2. And he said, we have to outlaw that defense. And I just keep thinking to myself, where the hell is this league going? This league does not allow you to play defense as it is. Now you want to take away the cover 2 because people are struggling against it. It's not an illegal defense. It's a very simple defense to beat. You run the ball, you open up things, and then you can beat people over the top. So why not put the burden on the offense to finally figure something the fuck out that isn't handed to them from a rules committee and learn how to play offense. I mean, this thing started, and this, I have to blame Belichick for this. And to a certain extent, I blame the Colts too, because the Colts are the ones that complain about this. But Belichick, back when the Patriots would play the Colts, would grab the Colts receivers, and they started calling defensive holding a lot more because of that. And that's morphed from blatant pulling of receivers to just touching a receiver and having it called defensive holding. And that to me is one of the worst parts about the genesis of what happened, is that it came from a blatant rules violation. And from that blatant rules violation, it's turned into a game impacting call every week on a defensive hold where someone's not even holding the receiver. It should be a blatant hold of a receiver. It should impede him. You should be almost dragging him to the ground. You should be pulling him away from the ball for it to be called. Instead, we're seeing brushes on a shoulder called. And to take that away and then to tell someone, well, we need to outlaw a certain defense because quarterbacks are playing bad. Guys, Pete Rose just passed away this past week. And one of the things about Pete Rose, you're probably going, what the fuck is he going? Where's he going with this?
That is quite a segue there.
So one of the things with Pete Rose dying is that everyone talking about him gambling is on a show that's sponsored by a gambling site. And we have this now with the cover two. The cover two, you outlaw the cover two. Why? Because there's more offensive firepower. It's more attractive to the gambling, to the fantasy football, to all of this. I don't want things to go this way. I know Mike's talked about it, but Pete Rose, I think that's just a great contradiction. As a man passed away for gambling on baseball, and then as soon as they report him, all of a sudden, you go to a commercial. It's like, brought to you by DraftKings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But Scott, this is an excellent point about this cover two now, which is gaining some momentum, right? And if it disappearing, how do we know? I think about things like just now, just like literally, how do we know where that fucking line exists on the field? If a cornerback kind of drifts over, or if a linebacker drifts, do we actually know exactly what the definition of a cover two is and where those players are supposed to be? Do we need like the fucking restricted zone in the paint, like in basketball, where is it going to be a mobile thing where each play the ref's going to drop down this line, or like in soccer where they spray paint don't they do like a foam thing, like where is the ref going to go out there with foam? How do we know exactly where that line is?
No, we need more judgment calls from referees. That's
I was
going to
say.
So it's a
Can you
subjective.
imagine leaving that up to the official?
It's the subjective thing. Let's add more subjectivity to the official's eye. That's what I want in this game. It's right, because how do we know exactly where that line is? It's sort of like the invisible line of the tackles with intentional grounding. We see that rule get fucked up every week, where we don't know if the guy's outside the tackle, ball getting back to the line of scrimmage, where's the receiver. So we're just adding more subjectivity and obscurity to the game of football in terms of officiating. It's going in a bad direction, in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but guys, why do we want to outlaw something because it impedes the offense? Why not just have the offenses get better?
Yeah, exactly. You remember the old days, the league would change from year to year, and nobody called for the banning or outlawing of anything. The defense would figure stuff out. It would work for a year. The offense would answer. There's nothing wrong with that. It makes the game year to year more interesting. I think the problem people have right now, it's funny that it came from Mel Kiper, draft guy, right? Yeah. So why he wants it outlawed is because all the guys he told us were going to be awesome suck. So he has to have an excuse for those guys. I mean, who's having no trouble with the cover two? Geno Smith, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Dak Prescott.
No, they're not.
C.J. Stroud. Not holding them back. It's the wrong guys are at the top of the leaderboard now. That. So rather than just have to admit we were so wrong about Justin Fields. Now it's like, well, Justin Fields sucks because the defense is too hard. Right? I mean, that's essentially the argument that we've gotten.
There's defense. Yeah, there's defenders strategically placed in the defensive backfield to stop a passing game.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember what was it that RG3 ran when he came in? The pistol or what would they call that?
It was the
K-gun?
pistol, wasn't it? Where you couldn't.
I can't remember what it was.
Well,
But he ran that for a year, and then he ended up getting hurt. But after that season, a couple other teams tried it. It didn't work because defenses adapted. It's the way it was with the run and shoot, the Wildcat.
Yep,
exactly, the Wildcat.
Wildcat. Yeah.
Yep. And offenses still will pull that out of the bag. Didn't some team tried to make an offense out of it? Was that Miami back in the day?
Yeah, it was Miami.
It was
tried
Miami.
to
Ronnie
form
Brown.
form a whole offense out of that.
Novak, pet peeve.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to apologize to Mike and Cardone because I'm going to steal theirs because they've used this before. But I feel it's important that I do this one right now, and it's me. I'm the pet peeve of myself. And the reason is our new sponsor, Rugged Uncle, right? You smell this stuff, right? There's a guitar pick in here. I feel like I put this on. I should be like having a cigar, drinking a scotch, sitting on a leather couch, reading a leather-bound book, right? And I'm not. I'm a child. I've got a Mets jersey to my right because I'm afraid that if I wear it or don't wear it, it's going to decide the outcome of this game, and they've lost. So now I'm not going to sleep thinking I should have worn the jersey because they lost. What is wrong? Like, it's that, when Jerry and George are in the thing, and Jerry goes, "What kind of lives are these?
Yeah.
We're not men.
No, we're not.
We're pathetic. No, we're not. That we're not." And then they both agree.
What is this? Did you ever get the feeling you had a haircut but you didn't have one? I'm all itchy back here.
Yeah, that scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't I be the rugged uncle guy? Why do I have to be me with wearing jerseys and getting upset about a fucking sporting event? They don't care about me, but I care about them. Like, I'm tired of it. Now the Mets, I'm not going to sleep tonight because I got to worry about this game, and I got to worry about tomorrow night, and then after that, I'm going to worry about Sunday when the Jets play. Stop. I'm a child. That's my pet
think
peeve
about
for
our
me.
sports
I'm so
teams
sick of myself.
That's awesome. Think about our sports teams. Imagine if it was a real world, imagine if it was a real life relationship, and the amount of disappointment and the amount of heartache. Like, why would we stay in this relationship? If any of your teams was just like an actual person, and they let you down this many times over and over and over again. Like, how would you stay in that relationship?
No, you'd have to have an intervention. You'd have there'd be no.
I say that about guys that go on like giant boards and they're on there, let's say they're on there 6-7 hours a day and they're regurgitating the same stuff. Daniel Jones sucks. He's the Antichrist. Daniel Jones is terrible. Mara doesn't want to win. The Giants suck. Whatever their complaint is, they're blasting this 7 hours a day, every day of the year. At some point, when do you step back and go, why am I a fan of this team? Why would I be a fan of something I hate?
I do this. Every day of my life, I question myself with this. I'm stuck with it.
If I go to Jack in the Box and have a bad hamburger, I'm like, fuck, I'm not coming back here again.
Right. You just give up on it immediately.
We've just had like 10 years of shitty hamburgers. We just keep going back.
And the hamburger continues to taste like shit, and you continue to take bites of it, and you keep going and you keep complaining about it.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? They got a different manager in there. There's a different cook. There's a different guy serving me the burger. There's a different guy taking my order at the window. Why does it still suck?
It's like that movie Defending Your Life where Albert Brooks's character's eating a pile of shit, and he's like, "This tastes really good. Your taste buds aren't advanced enough to know that."
Oh, that depresses me.
Sorry. Maybe next week for the pod, I might show up with my rugged uncle on and be all sophisticated and whatnot.
There you go.
Like a bourbon
like a
instead
robe.
of a can of Miller Lite, like
robe,
slippers.
You need the Courvoisier.
Something.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it's gonna change me.
It's like, yeah. I watched the professional football contest with the Vikings from Minnesota played the Jets from New York.
I was quite disappointed by the performance.
Just don't talk about kicking an oblong football through a big H because John Amos just passed away this week too. So.
Oh, did he really? I didn't hear that
right.
one.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
McDowell's.
Yeah.
James from Good Times.
That guy has been like 77 for like 70 years, it feels like.
Yeah, he really
doesn't age.
Yeah,
he didn't
definitely.
age, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
Mikey,
great
pet
role.
peeve?
John Amos, great role in Die Hard 2. I mean, I didn't know he passed away. Yeah, I have a pet peeve. I can't believe I've never used this as a pet peeve before. I was very excited when I saw this, and I think we talked about it over text a little bit. But my pet peeve this week is Cameron Newton. So Cam Newton, who's long been a pet peeve of mine as long as I can remember, got under my last nerve this week. I don't know if everyone saw this, but Cam Newton made a comment this week talking about Eli Manning, which, first of all, I feel like Will Smith. I want to slap him in the face and say, get Eli's name out your mouth. I mean, that's the first thing I want to tell Cam Newton. But yeah, Cam Newton said, if this guy gets a gold jacket, I deserve 2. That was Cam Newton's comment on the potential of Eli Manning joining the Professional Football Hall of Fame. So, as we talked about text a little bit, I mean, unless you're a Carolina Panther fan, I guess the first thing I think of when I think of Cam Newton is making a business decision in the Super Bowl to not jump out a loose ball that on a turnover that essentially ended the football game. So that's Cam Newton. That's his legacy. That's what people think about when they think of him. And he's just a perfect athlete, I think, for this world we live in now, where it's all glamour and stats and everything. You don't really have to get anything done, to be revered. Fuck it. You don't have to do anything, and he's talking about Eli Manning, a 2-time champion, by the way, but not only a 2-time champion, but a guy who won the most valuable player in 2 separate Super Bowls, playing against what will, for the rest of our lives, be considered the greatest dynasty maybe in sports, the New England Patriots for the run that they had. So that's Eli's legacy. But Cam Newton doesn't see things that way. Cam Newton is better in almost every athletic thing you can think of than Eli Manning. So Cam Newton doesn't think of it that way. He's really kind of insulting himself.
Yeah.
Look at the athletic package that Eli Manning brings to the table and know that he was willing to put in the work and the sacrifice on and off the field to do what it takes to be a world champion 2 times. And again, not just world champion, the best player on the field in those games, versus Cam Newton, who has 1 league MVP, but something Eli doesn't have, and led a team. I don't know if they were favored in that Super Bowl, but they should have been. I mean, I thought they were going to win it when the game started because they looked unstoppable. But on the biggest stage, in the biggest game he's ever played in his life, Cam Newton came up terrible. And I don't think he played an awful football game, but he had several moments in that game where the moment seemed too big for him. Can you guys remember, outside of maybe Eli's rookie year, a time, place, play, moment, game situation that seemed too big for Eli Manning? One time.
No.
I would check.
That was his signature,
Yep.
That was just his demeanor all the time, man. The guy was unflappable.
Yep.
Didn't Cam break down in the post-game interview too? Like, wasn't there like something going on behind him and he was freaking out?
Yeah. I mean, the sensitiveness of this guy, I was quite pissed off when I read that. I was like, the nerve of this guy, career loser.
Yeah.
To say he gets 2 jackets if Eli gets 1. Well, you're not going to get any jackets. So I don't think any of that matters, Cam. But yeah, that pissed me off. And so I did a little research on him this week too. He didn't really play football until late in high school. He's a really good baseball player, but you know why he quit baseball? Anyone know why he quit baseball?
Didn't know he played baseball.
Didn't know he played baseball.
He became fearful of getting hit by a pitch.
Huh.
He couldn't. I swear to God, I swear to God, it's what it says. He couldn't overcome his fear of being hit by a pitch.
Interesting.
Interesting
right.
that.
Interesting. That checks out.
Yeah,
it
brand. Does. It works.
Well, why was the guy always trying to
him?
jump over linebackers and he had no fear of being upside down on an NFL football field?
Yeah,
with his head being the closest thing to the ground. I don't understand that.
You don't think if they offered a Guardian that Cam would have wore one? I think Cam would have wore a Guardian if they had it available to him.
What Eli should say is throw 2 gold jackets on the ground and see who picks them up first.
Good one, Scott. I like that.
That's awesome.
That's a great one.
That's a
like
great
Jerk
one.
Store. That's a good one.
Yeah. But as we know,
store.
as a good lead into my ending there, Scott. As we know, Eli won't say anything because that's Eli Manning.
Of course. What's he going to say to that?
Or he'll throw something in on a Manning cast when no one's thinking about it.
Yeah, that'd be fun too. If after he gets the gold jacket, he could say, sorry, Cam, they didn't give me another one. I don't know. Like
Newton, where the fuck you been the last year or two? Every year they you get the sense of who's coming out, who's on the ballot next year. Like each year, which guy is coming up for the first time. Where the fuck you been, Cam? You didn't realize all of a sudden Eli's name is out there, and where do you think he was?
Is Cam Newton
you guys
a Hall of
think?
Famer?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. Do you guys think? I mean,
I'd actually have to look at his stats. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a quarterback who never had back-to-back winning seasons as his team.
Yeah,
so
that's
we know the Panthers haven't. So
no championships.
But would he get enough? Yeah.
Yeah, no championships, but an MVP. Never put together any sort of string of success.
I mean, the question would be, I think Michael Vick was an MVP one year. He's not going to be in the Hall.
Yeah.
He'll blame the city of Charlotte, say it's too small of a market, and he'll blame the fact that he didn't get along with the media or some crap. But it won't be about his play where he didn't win anything. You're right, Mike. That is his signature play compared to Eli, who ducked out of 5 people and threw a miraculous touchdown pass in the biggest spot in the Super Bowl. It's his signature play. I'm not saying he doesn't have others, but
forever remembered for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Buckner, era first. Newton.
Yeah.
That's what he's remembered for. Yeah, he was an MVP and had an amazing year in 2015, right? That was an incredible team. But the last fucking play, the last series they had the ball. That's what he'll be remembered for. That for his career. That's what happens. Yeah.
And ironically, wasn't that against Peyton Manning?
It was against Peyton.
It was against Peyton Manning. Yeah.
Yes, it was. Absolutely.
Cardone, pet peeve. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, people might not agree with mine or our listeners because in this day and age where in sports, and I'm going to use a couple different other sports to get to my pet peeve, but where bigger is better, longer is better. So like in baseball, we have to track the how far home runs are hit now. We can't just say Aaron Judge hit a home run today. We have to say the velocity. We have to give how far 412 feet, whatever. In the NBA, like now, with the advent of the 3-point shot, Steph Curry now is in field goal range as soon as he comes over fucking half court. You got to pick him up coming over half court. So where I'm going with, I am against the idea of now 60-yard field goals becoming chip shots in this league. I used to love it when you had a chance for field goal kickers to miss field goals. I can't take the accuracy of these field goal kickers from over 60 yards now. It used to be guys would never even think about attempting 60-yard field goals, let alone having weekends where multiple guys are making multiple 60-yard field goals. And what pissed me off the most, it's bad enough that with the landing zone and all this bullshit with the starting field position, we've talked about this, I think, even this season, where you get 1 first down, you're in field goal range. Well, now you're at midfield and you're almost in field goal range. Aubrey, I'm going to use him because we got, lost to Dallas. He kicked a 60-yarder, which is nothing anymore. What pissed me off the most is when they attempted that 51-yarder on Dallas's last possession to try to go up by 8. We were still in the game. I don't know if you guys remember. It was a 51-yarder. He missed it, and then Al Michaels was like, "Whoa!" And I'm like, "Fuck you, Michaels! It's a 51-yard field goal, asshole! It wasn't an extra. It wasn't like a 22-yarder. Michaels was beside himself that Aubrey, he couldn't comprehend that he missed a 51-yard field goal. It wasn't that long ago. I can still remember when Norwide came out in Super Bowl 25 for a 47-yarder, which back then they're like, I think it was Dan Deerdork who said, like, that's a long way to kick a field goal. Norwood was 1 for 6 on grass from 40-yard, field goals of 40 yards and over that year. But guys, I'm one of the guys that I don't want to see field goals. I don't know, man. I'm not into it. Furthermore, this also blends into why it drives me crazy that coaches decide they give up on field goals attempts. Instead of they go for everything on 4th down. Well, why? You got guys kicking field goals from 55-yarders. They hit them up 5 yards into the net. Just why not take the points there? But at the same time, I'm pissed off that these 60-yard field goals now are just commonplace. It's driving me crazy. It's just like the home run in baseball, and now they're talking about a 4-point line. I think in the NBA, they want to put that somewhere out there, or at least keep moving it out. Just have guys. Now I can't wait for the day where a team doesn't even they let's say there's a penalty. They need a field goal to tie or win the game. I can't wait for a team to get the ball like at the 35, not even get a first down, and kick like a 69-yard field goal to win a game, where they didn't even have to get a first down on the game on a game-tying or winning drive. I would love to see that. I can't take it. It's too much. Do you
remember? It was probably a Monday night game against the Saints years ago, but legendary kicker Morton Anderson for the Saints was kicking against us, and he missed a 22-yarder that would have won the game for them, and we ended up winning because of it. And that's every now and then you'd see a shank like that. You don't see a shank inside 40 yards anymore.
No. Right. 40 plus used to be, even for an NFL kicker, was sort of like, oh, wow. Like the percentage would drop drastically as soon as you got to like 45 and above. Have you guys noticed, like 50 something yards? It's absolutely absurd what's going on in this league. And I'm one I don't know. It's probably just my old school nature or just, the old days, whatever. But I used to like the idea when a kicker had a chance to miss kicks. I mean, I was surprised when I was too. Like Aubrey missed a 51-yarder, but at least I was thinking like, well, every time a guy lines up for like a kick that long, I certainly do it when Greg Joseph was doing that against Cleveland, which when he missed, I'm like, oh no, that's 48 yards. That's not that close. But the way I don't know if you guys remember that specifically. I just remember Al Michaels just like whoa, like
yeah. Well, Al Michaels was worried about the 5.5 point spread.
Yes,
probably.
He was.
Yeah, he was. He mentioned that like 10 times.
Novak, he brought it up. And that was the other like little pet peeve. I'm like, I don't give a goddamn what the point spread is. I'm losing. Yeah. I'm going to 1-3, Michaels. Who cares?
Yeah.
So we got several. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to tack on. It's kind of sad that we lived through that period, so we saw that all change. Like our kids watching football, like it'd be 70-yarders will be kind of the norm. And, if you want to,
I don't like it.
A field goal should seem like a little bit of a defeat to, like, okay, they stopped us. We'll take a shot at this long shot and see if we can at least salvage 3 out of this. But it's not. It's automatic. And, narrow the goalpost. I don't know. What do you got to do? Make them kick from 10 yards back instead of 7. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we have several questions. I know we're running late, but we'll probably be able to get through some of these quickly. So our friend Chris Coons asks, has Daniel Jones showed enough the past 2 weeks to stay the quarterback for years? And Coons, I will tell you this. Daniel Jones will be gone next year unless we have some sort of miraculous turnaround in the next between now and the end of the year.
Yeah. I think he has shown to be the quarterback for years. I think you could take the S off of there. He's shown to be the quarterback this year, without a doubt. The talks of replacing him somehow are insane. But we don't have anyone better than him on the bench. But yeah, Jones he's done. Whether that's a good decision or not, we'll let history decide. But yeah, this is it.
Yeah. No, he's done. So I thought the question was going to say weeks. As you were reading it, I'm like, maybe for the next few weeks. I don't know. No.
So Novak, we did not touch upon this with the Jets game, but he asks if the Jets should scale back the cadences.
Saleh just needs to shut his mouth and not say anything. And so, I hate the dick. He is absolutely 100% right on this. Hold the offensive line accountable. It's not Aaron Rodgers' cadence is the problem. Stop it. So no, we're not doing anything with that. Next question.
There was a bit of tension there. So
yeah, of course there was, because Rodgers hates Saleh, thinks he's a clown, and as do I.
So my friend Mike Harrison, he asks a couple questions. He wanted to know if the Jets' problems on Sunday were weather related, or is this a symptom of a bigger problem? You didn't really. I mean, we touched upon the weather part. You didn't want to hear them say that it was rain one more time, but is there a symptom there of a bigger problem? Do you think, or no?
Yes, absolutely, the bigger problem. I mean, the Broncos played in the same freaking weather and they won the game. So, and they don't have half the talent the Jets do. So yes, it is 100% a bigger problem. And for me, it's down to coaching and poor chemistry. I hate the chemistry thing. I really do. I hate the fact that I said that, but it is part of it. Rodgers cannot get on the same page with some of his guys. He needs his little buddies around him. Devontae Adams will be here in 3 days.
And then Mike also asks about Jones' deep balls. We all know that they've been inconsistent. Oh. So should we continue to try the deep balls, or should Dable dial it up and go more short? Now, I will say this, Daniel Jones in the Dallas game, especially on the short passes and the intermediate passes, looked pretty damn good. We were moving the ball, as Mike pointed out with our drive charts. The deep balls he was really bad at, and this is something he hasn't been bad in his entire career at, but at least for 2024, we fix one thing, another thing breaks.
Story of the Giants.
That's it.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way you stop doing it. It's the reason we're able to move the ball. We've got teams away from the line of scrimmage, finally. But like you said, Scott, I mean, this is, Jones' first couple of years, even when he wasn't playing particularly well, he would drop a dime on a 40-yard, 50-yard pass, put it right in the receiver's hands. Now, back then, the receivers would drop them. So
who are you talking about? Evan Ingram?
Yeah. Now he can't find it. And I don't know if it's his legs a little weaker. He's pushing off different. Of course I don't know about anything like that, but I don't think we stop. I don't think we should ever stop.
Yeah. No,
so Peacock has a few questions. He mentioned, and I was going to bring this up earlier, but I knew this was a question. The Giants-Cowboys were the most streamed game ever. 16.22 million people. Does it surprise you that game is so popular? And I'll say this, most Thursday games are shit. It's the Bengals against the Falcons or something like that. And if you get a Giants-Cowboys game on Amazon, which more people have now probably this year than they have in the past few years, that's why you have more people streaming it. And I think this game does hold its weight. Whether the teams are bad or not, there's always Jerry Jones. It's always the Giants. So you have the good versus evil, or however you want to face it, America's team. There's some sort of storyline there that draws people in.
Well, it's America's team, and it's New York on the other side. So
true.
I don't think you have to look much further than that. I mean, it's not much of a rivalry right now, since we've gotten our ass beat 14 of the last 15 times in this series, in this matchup. So there's, you can't. I used to joke around when they talked about the rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees before 2004. It's like, what rivalry? Like, you never win. The other team has to win like at least half the time.
I will say this, but there's a lot of chatter on Giant boards about how the Giants are, they're okay with being mediocre. They don't want to win. We need a guy like Jerry Jones who wants to win. Well, it's been over 30 years about, and the Cowboys haven't won dick. So I don't get, winning in the NFL is difficult. It's very damn hard. Our teams can attest to that, but every team can attest to that. It's hard.
Yeah.
Listen, we looked at the Giants schedule and we said, hey, 2-2 after the first 4 games would be pretty good. I'd take 2-2 after the first 4 going into Seattle. We're a hurt field goal kicker away from being 2-2.
Yeah.
They've played better than they look, and I think they've played better than people think they are. But as Parcells said, we're 1-3. We're a 1-3 football team. So
yeah, your record is. He asks this. It's specific to Giants, but it could apply to the Jets because the Giants had a Thursday game. But what do you guys do as a non-Giant football Sunday? Are you watching football? Not at all. Is there a favorite team you watch? What I did this past Sunday is I did watch some of the games. My daughter and her fiance came back, so we ended up going out to dinner a little bit later. But for the 1:00 games, I was watching the Jets or the Eagles Bucks, and then on the 4:00 games, those that I watched, I had it on the red zone, which I normally do. But you know what? A lot of times, if the Giants aren't playing, we will plan something along that weekend. We might go out of town, or we might, have gone to Clemson the night before and watched a football game, and just, I'm not worried about getting home early on a Sunday to watch the game. So I do sort of plan around when the Giants aren't playing on a Sunday.
I'll still watch, but I'll try and focus on the game that sucks the least. And that's, so I'll flip through and find one that's not as boring as all the others. And I'll watch that one.
Sometimes hard to do.
Sometimes hard to do.
I usually lock in on red zone and just kind of keep it there for most of the time. Yeah.
I miss the Andrew Siciliano version of red zone.
No
I
doubt.
don't like this other red zone's too frenetic. It's like every play they're like switching. Where Andrew Siciliano would set it up and be like,
awesome.
all right, Titans are at the 15 here and they're driving and they'll stay with a play. The other one, as soon as a play cuts off, you just immediately switches to another game.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're adapting to our attention span, which is short. Yeah, I usually, like this Sunday, I just had it on as sort of background and doing other things. And then, when it gets to close to 4, I'll sit down and kind of look what games are close at the end. And, look for something like that. But yeah, I'm playing Xbox with the TV on behind me or something, and still watching, just not zoned in.
You guys got anything else tonight?
I have one comment. I want to go back to Mike's pet peeve around Cam Newton. All right, Cam. So some career statistics, right? If Eli gets 1, you should get 2. Career passing yards. This is all-time in the all-time list. Eli, 10th. Cam, 46th. All-time touchdowns. Eli, 10th. Cam, tied for 58th. Completions. Eli, 11th. Cam, 44th. So, go ahead, dude. All right, then do the math there, dude.
Wow.
You're 46th, 58th, and 44th. Forget about the championships. If you wanted to just go stat for stat, Cam, then there you go, dude. Like, just What's your debate? You want to debate? Let's go.
Yeah, he thinks he should be in on untapped ability. That's what he thinks should get him in. Promises unrealized should get him into the Hall of Fame.
Wardrobe? Like, what do you want to get in?
Well, they might have a fit
Post-game
category sometime in our lifetime.
Post-game fashion sense?
Yeah.
Loser.
Is a loser.
We will be back next week. We are glad to have a new sponsor, Rugged Uncle. Hit us up on our website, or check out our website, I should say, at www.angryfootballfans.com. And hopefully next week we have at least one of our teams win. For fuck's sake! I mean, it's really depressing knowing you're coming on, and God, we spent almost 2 hours tonight talking about this shit. But yeah. Baseball playoffs are in full swing, so maybe the Yankees will bring us joy. But we'll see you next week. We'll talk about the Giants-Seahawks and Jets-Vikings. And until then, we'll see you.
All right.
Yeah.
See you.
Mats.
Oh, Scott hung up. I wonder if it is still recording.
I think he must have done that by mistake.
Yeah.
We can't stop.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back.
He could. Oh.
Yes,
So
that's
recording. Yeah.
Uh-oh, did you what happened there?
Wait, I got to stop it.
Oh, that whole end? Oh.
It's